Can California regions regulate groundwater without destroying their businesses and communities? That's the question being posed as regions and localities implement the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, SGMA, the historic 2014 state law that brought regulation to California's diminishing groundwater supplies. Groundwater is the water buried in aquifers, the underground spaces between rocks, soils, and sand. Layers of aquifers are called groundwater basins. California has hundreds of them, and we could not live without them. 85% of Californians depend on groundwater, which constitutes roughly 40% of California's water supply, and 46% in times of drought. SGMA was designed to protect the most overdrawn groundwater basins, often in rural regions, by requiring plans to balance the amounts of water being pumped from and recharged into aquifers by 2040. Complying with the law and achieving sustainability is expected to dramatically change the California landscape over the next 2 decades from now. State residents and businesses will have to use considerably less groundwater, agricultural land will have to go out of production, and local ecosystems will have to be restored. SGMA tried to cushion disruptions from its changes by giving local agencies new power and broad discretion to form and elect a new species of local government called groundwater sustainability agencies, or groundwater authorities for short. The idea was to encourage democratic collaboration in the making of groundwater sustainability plans, thus avoiding the fights that have long plagued water policy in California. These groundwater authorities, having been created by local communities themselves, would be more inclined to listen to all stakeholders and to develop plans that would minimize local pain. But the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority, covering 11,000 square miles in the western Mojave, including parts of Kern, Inyo, and San Bernardino counties, which sit above a very large pool of groundwater, has disdained conciliation with an alarming ferocity. Last year, it approved a groundwater plan so politically incendiary that it might have shocked Thomas Hobbes, the philosopher who saw human life as a war of all against all. If the plan survives multiple legal challenges, it could bring a swift end to agricultural production in an important region for pistachios, force the closure of the valley's oldest business, and cut off water to the unincorporated rural community of Trona, Pop. 1900. The plan's aggressive provisions also might extend this water war into the San Joaquin Valley, Los Angeles, and the nation's capital. At the heart of this conflict in California's inland desert is, ironically, the United States Navy. The Indian Wells Valley is home to the Navy's largest single landholding in the world, the Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake, covering 1.1 million acres, an area larger than the state of Rhode Island. Ridgecrest, the biggest city in the valley, is a military town, owing its economy and its relatively high education levels to the presence of this installation devoted to the research, development, acquisition, and testing of weapons systems. Local officials, led by former China Lake Commander and Kern County Supervisor Mick Gleason, have fought for decades to grow and protect the Navy base. To make sure that SGMA wouldn't affect Navy water, they moved quickly to set up an authority in the Ridgecrest City Hall that they controlled and that largely excluded major water pumpers in industry and agriculture. In the process, the authority produced a plan for valley groundwater that is bizarrely one-sided, even for the crazy world of California water. Rather than phasing in changes over the next 2 decades, as the law anticipates, the authority plan immediately imposes enormous pain through fees greater than $2,100 per acre-foot of water, so high that they represent an effective ban on agriculture or water-needy industry in the valley. Mojave Pistachios, a major nut producer, says the fees would force it to abandon a $35 million investment in trees made in 2011, before SGMA. Searles Valley Minerals, a going concern since 1873, says its water bills would increase by 7,000%, forcing immediate closure and the loss of hundreds of jobs. Even stranger is the plan's justification for such high fees, which could take this water war statewide. A need to pay for major infrastructure to import new water into the Mojave. Such a project is quite literally a pipe dream, since it would mean taking water that now goes to the Central Valley or Los Angeles, regions with more power than the Indian Wells Valley. In addition, proposing the expensive moving of water into the desert is sure to draw the ire of environmentalists.